Welcome back to News and Views with myself, Salailo Makwidi. The time is 10 minutes past 8, and we're going to turn our focus now to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's recent address to a joint meeting of the U.S. Congress. This marks his first speech and address since October the 7th. Netanyahu's address comes at a time when the death toll in Gaza has surpassed a staggering 30,000, as reported by the Hamas-run Ministry of Health. This catastrophic loss of life is a direct consequence of the relentless military campaign waged by Netanyahu's government, a campaign that has been widely condemned for its brutal and disproportionate use of force. In his speech, Netanyahu called for an unwavering U.S. support, attempting to mask all the atrocities committed in Gaza under the gaze of security and alliance. However, I think the whole world by now, is no longer blind to the suffering of the Palestinian people. Over 30 courageous Democrats in the U.S. Congress boycotted Netanyahu's speech, standing in solidarity with innocent lives lost and the countless others affected by this ongoing genocide. And like many around the globe, those Congress members recognize that peace and justice cannot be achieved through the continued oppression and violence against Palestinians. And I think in this segment, we'll critically examine Netanyahu's address. And I think by far and large, exposing the hypocrisy and grave injustice perpetuated by his government. And we'll also delve into the humanitarian catastrophe in Gaza, the political machinations at play, and the growing international call for accountability and change. And joining us in a bit is a columnist at the Israeli newspaper, Haaretz Gideon Levy, and he'll help us unpack Netanyahu's statement and the broader implications for the Palestinian people and the quest for peace in the region. This is a pivotal moment for truth and justice. And as always, here on Salam Media, we stand unequivocally with Palestine in their struggle for freedom and dignity. So stay tuned as we confront this harsh reality and advocate for the resolution. But first, let's welcome Gideon Levy. He's coming to us live from Tel Aviv. Gideon, thank you so much for joining us and welcome to Salam Media.
Thank you for having me.
I think first and foremost, I think a lot of people who are pro-Palestine, who know and understand what's truly happening in that part of the world, were really disgusted by Benjamin Netanyahu's address. It was disproportionate. It was excuse after excuse. But from your side of the pond, what did you make of the address?
I tell you frankly, I was not so much discussed by Netanyahu as much that I was discussed by the members of the American Congress and Senate. This was really shameful. They were cheering one time after the other, over 50 times in less than an hour. Whom did they cheer? Whom did they applaud exactly? Netanyahu, who can hardly visit any other country in the world today, who very soon there will be arrest orders by the International Criminal Court, someone who is suspected in so many crimes of war. What did you cheer about? Killing 40,000 Palestinians in Gaza? This is what American Congress see in front of his eyes? It was unbelievable, really. I think it was the most shameful session of the American Congress ever. And except a few, as you mentioned, courageous legislators, Democrats, most of them applauded without even thinking, what are they applauding for?
And I want to focus a bit on that, those 30 Democrats who boycotted Netanyahu's speech, citing Israel's handling of the war, genocide rather, in Gaza. What message do you think this sent to both the Israeli government and, the international community? How significant is this level of dissent within the U.S. political landscape?
Look, the political landscape in the United States and especially in the Democratic Party is changing. But it's like anything else in the United States, a very slow process. But it is on already, and this war in Gaza gave it a boost. But it doesn't mean that tomorrow the United States is going to change its pure policy toward Israel. No, it will take some more years until the young generation of the Democratic Party, those students in the campuses, will become the decision makers, and then we will see a real shift. Meanwhile, we see a shift in the atmosphere, but as you mentioned, it's only a few dozens of members of Congress who boycotted the session, and most of them stood up again and again and applauded to someone who might be in international arrest very soon.
Speaking of international arrest, just how much of Netanyahu's address and visit to the United States of America, especially during this very very chaotic election season in the U.S., stems from a place of desperation. We know that support back home for Netanyahu is kind of at its most lowest, and also, excuse me, when it comes to arrests, there might be those ICC warrant of arrest being released soon. Do you think in any way this was his ploy to kind of garner support, look for home people that will accept him and justify his actions that have been tragically taking place since the 7th of October?
I think mainly he wanted his base to see him again in what they perceive his greatness, because he's a good speaker in English, because the Americans love him, at least the Republicans. Here he is again, this international statesman who is coming to the Congress the fourth time. There's no other international leader who had ever been so many times in the Congress and speak to the Congress like Netanyahu. And he wanted to impress those who follow him and some others, because it is impressive on the surface. The problem is not how did he deliver the speech. He delivered it very good. The problem is obviously the content, and the content is obviously full of lies and covering up many, many crimes.
Mm, And one thing that the Biden administration has been pushing for, and we don't know just how much of it comes from an authentic place, is a push for a ceasefire agreement. Well, Netanyahu did not address this directly in his speech. What do you think this was? Don't you think there are any plans, or maybe there are potential aspirations of any kind of a ceasefire when it comes to what's currently happening in Palestine and in Gaza from Netanyahu's camp?
Let me be very clear. If the Americans really would have want to put an end to this war, they could have done it long time ago. Israel cannot continue this war without the arms and the ammunition from the United States, and Israel had to stop if the Americans would have been decisive. I have no doubts that President Biden had good intentions, and he really wants and wanted this bloodbath to come to its end. But he was not courageous enough to take measures. And as long as you don't take measures against Israel, it's hollow, it's lip service, it's nothing. And therefore, I don't see the war coming to its end soon, because the Americans are not pushing enough to put an end to it.
And the issue of funding when it comes to Israel and how it sources its funds and support for this ongoing genocide machinery is largely coming out of the United States of America, and there are calls. I mean, I think we've seen protests outside of his hotel from a large and significant population of the U.S. Population who are calling for aid to Israel to be seized. Do you think going into the upcoming elections in America, this could be one of the sole points that both the two presidential candidates need to look into?
I'm not sure, because the campaigns and the elections in the United States are mainly on domestic issues, mainly on economy and other domestic issues. The average American is not so interested in what's going on in the Middle East. Not that there are not Americans who have no interest, but the average American has other things in his mind and is totally disconnected from the scene. But in any case, the question of aid to Israel is discussed and hopefully will be changed. Above all, I'm expecting it to become conditioned. You want to give aid to Israel, go ahead, but put some conditions at least. If Israel doesn't follow the international law and doesn't follow the American policy, why do you continue to finance it? But money is not the only question here. The United States is supporting Israel in many other fields diplomatically. Without the American veto, we would have faced already very harsh resolutions calling for sanctions on Israel. Israel cannot stand it. And same for militarily, the ammunition, as I said. There are many, many leverages that the United States could use against Israel, and it doesn't.
Mm, mm, mm. And I want us to take a quick break, but then when we come back, I want us to chat a bit about another part of Netanyahu's speech where he laid out what he called his post-war vision, and what he envisions Israel and Palestine to look like after all of this is said and done, and whether or not do you see it as something which is feasible, and where the Palestinian people, who are at the heart of this genocide, fit in his post-war vision that he eloquently put out in that address to the U.S. Congress. But we'll touch a bit on that after the break.
Sadaka, Akika, and Kurbani requirements. We offer clean, hygienic abattoir-style and refrigeration facilities. Sheep, goats, and cows are available at competitive market-related prices, direct to the public. We slaughter, slice, and distribute in your behalf. But that's not all. Introducing Meatmasters Halal Butchery, our sister company situated on our farm in Lenasia. Unbeatable prices on lamb, beef, and chicken. Lenasia Livestock and Poultry. Livestock is our business. We are Sanha approved. Telephone 011-857-1774. Call now.
You know, it's a wonder how kids get anything done these days. With all the distractions, when do they even get time to study? As a mother, all I can really do is make sure they have all they need to perform at their best. That's why I choose to include Sunfoil triple refined pure sunflower oil with every meal I make. Naturally cholesterol-free and approved by the Heart and Stroke Foundation as part of a balanced eating plan. So whether I'm cooking, frying, or baking, I know every dish will be a wholesome one. Sunfoil, now we're cooking.
After the recent attacks on Gaza, many families have been displaced with their homes left destroyed. Through your donations, our teams are on the ground in Gaza, providing support and delivering necessary aid to families affected. The people of Gaza need your help. Give hope. Donate today to Penny Appeal South Africa. www.pennyappeal.org.za 031 1100 573.
We are here on the ground with many appeal organizations in Gaza.
Discover the Africa of your dreams and surround yourself with her spectacular beauty. Relax beneath her serene sunsets and explore wildlife at its natural best. It's where the pride of Africa comes together. The Kwantu Private Game Reserve. Get to know the Big Five or cruise on an elephant safari game drive. Interact with lion and tiger cubs and enjoy world-class halal cuisine while we pamper you during your 5-star stay. Indulge in the true African experience. For reservations, call now on 042-203-1400 or visit kwantu.co.za. The Kwantu Private Game Reserve, the place of gathering.
Valley's Motor Spares. We supply motor spares and accessories for all makes and models of motor cars, LDVs, bakkies, trucks, and earth-moving equipment. We deliver on time, every time. Please contact us via WhatsApp on 014-592-0925 or call 014-592-0925 or visit 28 Zenderling Street, Rustenburg. Remember the name, Valley's Motor Spares.
Connect and stay ahead with Salam Media. This is Salam Media, coming to you live from South Africa.
Welcome back. You're still tuned in to Salam Media with myself, Salailo Makwidiri, and I'm still chatting to Gideon Levy. He's coming to us live from Tel Aviv. He's a columnist at the Israeli newspaper Haaretz, and we're just analyzing Benjamin Netanyahu's address to the U.S. Congress on Apartheid Israel's genocide on Gaza. This was his first address since the 7th of October, and before we went to the break, Gideon, I wanted us to touch a bit on, his post-war vision. He said, and I quote, "The day after we defeat Hamas, a new Gaza could emerge." He also said that my vision for that day is of a demilitarized and de-radicalize Gaza. Israel does not seek to resettle Gaza, but for the foreseeable future, we must retain overriding security control there to prevent the resurgence of terror, to ensure Gaza never again poses a threat to Israel. What do you make of Netanyahu's, post-war vision, and where the people of Palestine fit in all of these plans?
This was a typical colonizing vision. And you in South Africa might identify it even more than I can identify it. We'll give the indigenous population some prosperity if they'll behave themselves. What about demilitarizing and de-radicalizing Israel? Why should they only be de-radicalized? And above all, what do you offer? I mean, those words were so hollow that really someone must be really ignorant to take them seriously. Who will replace Hamas? I mean, who are you bringing into Gaza? You will invent a new Palestinian. There is today no Palestinian in the world except of some collaborators who is ready to forgive Israel for what it has been doing in Gaza for the last 70 years and for the last 9 months. What do you want them? Just to forget the massacre and become Israeli lovers? I mean, it is so far-fetched that really even discussing it is ridiculous. This man aims only in the destruction of Gaza and the killing of Gaza, and he's not really interested in the future of Gaza.
And I think, if there's one thing that really stood out for me in that address is, when he said, and I quote, "A new generation of Palestinians must no longer be taught to hate Jews, but rather to live in peace with us," without necessarily talking about the other side, the radicalized Jews who themselves don't see Palestinians as human beings and as equals and as neighbors. If a two-state solution or anything of that kind resurfaced. So it's so one-sided and so short-sighted that, as you said, it's almost ridiculous to even entertain it.
Absolutely. And what about equality? Is he ready to give the Palestinians equal right like the Jews? He doesn't even dream to do it. He wants them to love us and to live under us. And there is no people in the world who would agree to it. He wants them to sit in peace under the brutal Israeli boots and obey the Israeli orders. This will never happen. And therefore, all his vision is just really a masquerade of lies, of hollow cliches. And above all, what really worries me is that the American Congress was swallowing this yesterday. This is so that serious, because if the Congress of the most important country in the world is buying those lies, then we have a problem.
Mm, mm, mm. I think we're just going to wrap up in a bit, but just just to get a sense of what's currently happening in Israel and the general consensus around Benjamin Netanyahu and what the general populace of Israel feel about him right now. We've seen protests happening and calls for him to step down. Before I let you go, what can you give us, regarding how the people of Israel are responding to Netanyahu and some of the criticism waged against him?
There is a majority of Israelis, and all the polls show it, who wish to see him stepping down. But unfortunately, there is no majority in Israeli public opinion to put an end to the war. There is no even a meaningful minority in Israel public opinion who recognizes the crimes that are being conducted on our name. And that's the problem. Netanyahu there will be elections sooner or later. There will be elections. I guess it will be quite sooner than we expect. You cannot exclude the possibility that Netanyahu will have to step down. There is an option that he will lose the elections. There is still an option that he will win them. But above all, don't expect too much from his substitutes, because when it comes to the core issues of occupation, apartheid, and continuing the war, they all think the same and say the same. And this is so depressing.
Definitely. We're going to leave it there. Gideon Levy coming to us live from Tel Aviv, columnist at the Israeli newspaper Haaretz. Thank you so much for giving us your time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Well, there you go. And I think, there are essentially 5 key takeaways from yesterday's speech by Benjamin Netanyahu. First, praising allies in the US. This is, just him, kissing their behind because he wants more money. Secondly, wading into election year politics, trying to suss out who's going to win the elections in the US and trying to, be as close to whoever that person is as possible. And then thirdly, taking aim at protesters. You come in other people's country, and you have them protest your presence, and you have the audacity, because that's how you operate. Freedom of expression and criticism for you is something that's so foreign that you have the guts to take swipe at protesters who are American. You are in America, but you have, the guts to, say many choose to stand with evil. They stand with Hamas. They stand with rapists and murderers. And this is Netanyahu saying all of these to the protesters who are outside the Capitol building in the U.S. When he made that address to the U.S. Congress. Fourth, a swipe at the International Criminal Court. This was expected because, there might be a warrant of arrest soon, and he might not be able to go anywhere. And that was expected of him to take swipe at the ICC. Fifth, laying out post-war vision, hollow, disengaged, doesn't even, reflect any grain of reality of what's happening in the ground. I mean, for the mere fact that you're saying after this war, you expect a new generation of Palestinians who must no longer be taught to hate Jews, but rather to live in peace with us. You've been bombing these people in the last 9 months. There's been more than 40 Palestinians who have been killed. And when you close your eyes and you have, a vision and a dream of what a post-war reality for them looks like, it's of them kissing and hugging you and being friends with you after you've killed their families, you've starved them almost to death. This man can't be normal. This man can't be normal. Being in a suit and acting all presidential doesn't mean you're okay in the head. I think there must be a serious psychoanalysis of Benjamin Netanyahu. Something's wrong with that man. Going to take a quick break. When we come back, we shift our focus to Uganda. We'll be speaking to Musinguzi Goodluck Ronald, who's standing by to give us insight on the protests that have rocked parts of Kampala right here on the continent. Stick with us for more after this break.